Your body is your temple, and every single thing you have ever experienced in your life is sitting in your body. Often, when we experience trauma, when we experience challenges, when we experience any kind of difficulty within our life, this will always come and sit within our body. Think about a time when you were going through a challenge. Think about a time that you went through a traumatic situation. Now, I just want to highlight here that trauma isn't the first thing that comes to mind. Generally, when we think of trauma, we think of some kind of horrific accident that has happened. But trauma is also emotional or mental. Seeing all the horrible things we see on the news is traumatizing to our system. Seeing suffering is traumatizing, especially when we think about childhood trauma. And I really talk about childhood trauma because all our problems really stem from childhood trauma. We all experienced hardship in childhood, and not really for any other reason than our parents really did the best they could with the information that they had at hand. So think as simple as you were a child and you had done a wonderful drawing and you were excited to show it to your mother or your father, but they were away at work and then they came home and they were exhausted and they were tired and they said, "Not now, not now." That could have been traumatizing, because when we are children, before our brain is fully developed, what happens is we live in a very egoic mind. We believe that everything is about us. This is why when parents get divorced, children think that it's their fault. This is the natural developmental stages of a child's brain. And so all the things that, because we are not taught how to deal with our emotions, because we are not taught how to feel our emotions, we live in a world where we are constantly told that emotions are weak. Or as children, when the only way we know how to express ourselves is through crying, and our parents tell us, because they didn't have the information they needed, they tell us, "Shh, don't cry." And as a result of hearing that over and over and over again, when this is the only form of expression and communication that we have at that young age, we start to believe that there is something wrong with expressing the way we feel. And because we are made to feel that it is not safe for us to express the way we feel, eventually what happens is we learn to suppress our emotions. We learn to push everything down. So just take a moment to think about the last time you felt anger, or the last time you felt deep sadness, or the last time you felt any of the negative emotions, whether it be shame or guilt. How do you deal with these emotions? What is your first way of processing it? Let's be honest. In most cases, what human beings do when these negative emotions start rising to the surface is we push it to the back of our head and say, "Not now, not now." Or depending on the way we speak to ourselves, and let's be honest, most of us speak negatively to ourselves. And so when those emotions start to rise up, what do? Is we start berating ourselves. Internally we say, "Oh no, why am I feeling this again? Oh no, you silly idiot, you shouldn't be feeling this again." And we start getting stuck in these negative thoughts. But what most people don't realize is negative thoughts lead to negative emotions. And then you get stuck in a loop. Negative thought, negative emotion, negative action, or negative behavior. And so really, the number one thing that is causing stress in your life, sorry for the noise, let's just let it pass a little bit, otherwise I might need to be shouting. But let's be honest, the number one thing that is causing you stress are your emotions, are your thoughts. And this is why people talk about becoming the observer of your thoughts, because most of us are operating in autopilot mode. We don't even realize what we're thinking about half the time. But this is why when you stop and you start getting into observation mode, start questioning, what are the thoughts that I'm thinking most of the time? Why do I think these thoughts? And once you start doing that, you will start to notice that the majority of your thoughts are connected to the negative emotions that you have suppressed throughout your life. We have been taught to believe that negative emotions are weak and that we shouldn't be feeling them. But let's take a few steps back, because emotions are the most natural part of the human experience. Every single choice we make because we either want to feel something or we don't want to feel something. Most of the time, especially for people who are looking for money, it isn't really the money they crave. It isn't those bills that you want to have in your pocket. That doesn't really do anything for you. Why people seek out more money is because of the way it makes them feel, because of the things that they can access through money, and therefore the way they will feel once they have access to that thing. So most people want money because they either want to buy a house, or they want to buy a car, or they maybe want to go on holiday. And the reason you want to do all of those things is because of the way it makes you feel. And so we are constantly feeling all the time. It's just that we are not aware of what we are feeling. We are not aware of how our thoughts and our emotions are deeply, deeply connected. And so if you are somebody who struggles with emotional overwhelm, then it is because you have experienced trauma, and it doesn't really matter where the trauma came from, but it is important to start releasing the energies of those emotions that are still sitting within your body. So think about it this way. How many times maybe you're just driving your car and everything is fine, nothing really bad has happened, you've just woken up, you woke up in a good mood, everything was great, and then somebody cuts you off in traffic. Fuck you! You start screaming. Was it really that terrible for somebody to cut in front of you? Was it really that bad for it to warrant that kind of reaction? Not really. But the reason why you reacted that way is because anger is sitting within your body. Especially for women, we have been taught that it's not ladylike to be angry, that we always need to smile and we always need to acquiesce to what other people need, constantly putting our needs aside. And so what happens is we suppress and we suppress and we suppress and we suppress. And just because we're no longer thinking about it doesn't mean it just disappears. Because all those things we think about, they affect our body. Because everything is connected. We are made up of multiple different systems. But emotions and the nervous system are deeply, deeply connected. Because how is it that we know that we are feeling an emotion? The key word there is feeling. Whenever we are feeling an emotion, we will have some kind of physical sensation within our body. Think about when you feel joy, you feel light and happy, you want to scream from the rooftops, you want to share your joy with everybody. Think about, on the other hand, when you're sad, perhaps you feel a constriction in your throat, tightness in your chest. Think about when somebody gives you a bout of bad news, poof, your stomach drops. All of these are indications that you are feeling an emotion. But what happens is, rather than us just sitting there and feeling our emotion, what happens? We go into the mind and we start trying to intellectualize it. It's like, for example, when we cry, we're just supposed to let it cry. We just let those tears flow, because generally, once we've cried a good cry, even when we make those really ugly faces when we cry, how much better do you feel after you've cried? Because crying is a form of release. Emotions, when we know how to process them, are also a form of release. Because emotions really are just an electromagnetic signal that is sent from the brain into the body via the nervous system, through the spine and into the organs or the different parts of our body, to let us know. It is a feedback loop. It is information letting us know what is going on within our surroundings. It is communication from the eyes or the mind into the body. And so every single time you suppress that anger, you suppress that sadness, saying, no, I don't have the right to feel this way. I am here to let you know that all your feelings are valid. Everything that you have felt or are feeling, you have a right to feel. Don't invalidate your experience. Don't minimize what you are feeling. Do not compare your experience with other people's because we are all inherently different. But one thing we do need is to deal with our emotions, because the more we continue running away from them, the more they hold control over us. Because let's say you have somebody harassing you, you can run away, run away, run away, but eventually you're going to have to deal with it. You're going to deal with it by either blocking the person or letting them know, hey, I don't want to deal with you, leave me alone. Because the more we run away from our problems, the more they will chase us and the more they will find us. And the thing is when we continue to sweep our proverbial shit under the carpet, it always catches up with us. And especially now, the times we are living in are just incredible. But all the energies that are coming in through the cosmos, everything that is happening at this time is forcing us to heal, is forcing us to go inwards and to validate ourselves. We're constantly seeking validation in the outside world, but who we really need validation from is ourselves. We need to remind ourselves that everything we are feeling is okay and that there is nothing wrong with us. This is just a natural part of the human experience, like breathing. We don't question why we breathe differently. It's like if you were exercising and suddenly you tell your body, why are you breathing fast? That's absolutely ridiculous. You are here to soothe your body. Remember, your body is your temple. And if you do not feel good within your body, how can you ever feel good within the world? Because the first place that you need to develop a sense of safety and a sense of comfort is in your body. I'm sure you've all heard of the statement, as above, so below, as within, so without. Because everything that happens inside of us manifests in the external world. Everything that is going on inside of us manifests in our body. So, especially if you are somebody who struggles with your body image, I, for one, struggled with my body for years. I had absolute self-loathing. Whenever I would look in the mirror, I would just feel disgust. And I just couldn't understand why I hated myself so much. I just couldn't understand why, no matter how much I tried, no matter how little I ate, I just couldn't lose weight. Until I started to realize, after years and years of yo-yoing with my weight and trying to figure it out, it isn't until I started to pay attention to my emotions and I started to realize that there was so much trauma in my body. And so once you start to realize that every single wound that you have ever had, every tattoo, every location of a tattoo is no mistake. Because just like you have a brain, your body has its own innate brain. Your body has its own innate wisdom. And your body is constantly communicating with you, letting you know something is going on. So whenever we have a flu, or whenever we have a headache or a tummy ache, that is your body letting you know something needs your attention. Something isn't balanced. Something isn't going the way it needs to go. But what do we do in those moments? Instead of stopping and asking our body, hey, maybe you can give me a little bit more information as to what's going on. Just like we speak to our mind, we need to learn to start getting more comfortable with speaking with our body, because our body holds such deep wisdom. And there are certain things that we cannot remember, because especially if you have experienced a lot of trauma, especially if you experienced a lot of trauma in childhood, emotional neglect, abandonment, parents who were maybe not so loving, growing up with narcissistic parents, all of these things will have affected your nervous system and they will have affected your body. And so I guess eventually I've never felt called to share my story. Sorry, I'm getting really emotional. I've never felt called to share my story because I didn't feel like I was ready. And something told me that it was time to start sharing it today, because there are so many people out there who have suffered so much and who have suffered in silence. And now is a time for healing. And the first point of starting this healing journey is to honor your body, because your body holds so much information. And so, it's such a long story, and I think I'll have to break it up in parts because it's quite intense. But when I was 6 years old, I went blind in my right eye. And how I went blind is I received a thorn in my eye. I was on safari on a holiday with my family, and an acacia tree came and whacked me in the face, and the thorn entered into my eye. And it was excruciatingly painful. But I thought everything was fine until the following morning. I woke up and we were camping. We were in the middle of nowhere. And the next morning I woke up and I couldn't open my eye. My eye was sealed shut with pus. And so gradually my father, after using some water to gently wipe away the pus and help me open the eye, when I opened my eye, I was in excruciating pain. And there was nothing but darkness. I couldn't see anything. And so I was rushed to hospital, and I had to have emergency surgery. And essentially what happened is I had some kind of dramatic cataract, is what they called it. And so for years after that, I had to wear glasses. I was affected in so many ways. And I could only essentially see through my left eye. And eventually, throughout my entire life, I struggled. And over time, because I was only seeing through my left eye, my vision in my left eye started to get worse. And I really feared for my entire life that I would go blind. But I would pray and pray and pray and say, one day there will be technology that will be able to save my eye, because what the doctor had said was that I would never, that he was the best doctor in the country, and that there was nothing more that he could do. And so after the operation, all I could see was shapes and colors. I could not really see anything through the eye. It was kind of like looking through a really foggy window. And so I just manifested. I would pray and pray and pray and say, one day there will be technology so that I can be restored vision. I will be able to see once again. And I promise you that miracles exist. They really, really do. Because by some miracle, a friend of mine one day told me that her doctor who was from Norway, because she was Norwegian, told her about a new form of laser surgery that existed that didn't require you to be put under full anesthesia. It could just be done in the doctor's office. And there were only few doctors in the world that were practicing this new technique. And one of them happened to be in Kenya, which is where I live. And funnily enough, she gave me the doctor's name, and it was the same doctor who had operated on me when I was 6 years old. So I contacted him and I went to go and do tests to see if I was a viable candidate for this new technique. And he remembered me. And wonderfully enough, he was like, yes, you're absolutely a viable candidate. And so after 30 years or whatever of not being able to see through two eyes, I did the laser technique, I did the laser surgery. And within a week, I remember waking up for the first time and not having to put on my glasses or put in contact lenses. And I remember thinking, oh shit, I've fallen asleep with my contact lenses again, because I opened my eyes and I could see with clarity. And for the first time in over 30 years, I could see through both eyes. And it was such a revelation. It was just the most happiest day of my life. And at this point, so many stories, I'm not going to go into too much of it here, but essentially after, what happened is I lost my father in 2016 to cancer. and then my mother to cancer in 2017. And that was a major wake-up call for me to start questioning about my life, because I was somebody I was addicted to alcohol, I was addicted to sex, I was the biggest people pleaser. I couldn't remember anything before the age of 6 years old. I had suicidal thoughts throughout my entire life, and I basically just spent my entire life wanting to die. And so, and in 2017, I was just like, no, this is no longer going to be my life. I do not want to die of cancer. I need to get my health in order. And so I became vegetarian. I stopped smoking cigarettes. I stopped drinking alcohol. And I read the most fantastic book that changed my life. I read this book called The Power of Now. And this book, it just changed my life. And this is what got me into meditation. And eventually I realized that, I was just so afraid of my own mind. I was so afraid of my emotions. In fact, I didn't even know what emotions were. I had buried my emotions so deep that when our father passed away, my sister told me, "You're not grieving." And I was like, "I'm crying, I'm sad. I don't know what more you need from me. What are you saying? I'm sad. What do you mean I'm not grieving?" And in fact, she was totally right. It wasn't until my mother died a year later that it hit me that my father had passed away. And that is when my true healing began. And so after I got the surgery, which was in 2018, sorry, no, I regress. It was in 2018. And so what happened was, after I was able to start seeing through both eyes, I realized that I had absolutely terrible posture. Something was very, very wrong, and I just couldn't understand what it was. It was only in hindsight that I started to realize that it was because of my eye. Because my eye had been shut, the muscles, what we don't realize is that everything works together. So the eye muscles also affect the movement of the neck, and the eye connects all the way down to the spine. So the right side of my body had been totally severed from my brain. Actually, it was the other way around. It was the left side of the body, because everything works in a crisscross. So whilst we see through the right eye, it actually comes from the left brain. And when we're looking through the left eye, it comes from the right brain. And so I started doing a lot of somatic exercises. What I started doing was, and I was guided through meditation, it's incredible. I would meditate on different parts of my body, and I would get all kinds of downloads. This is how I learned about the nervous system. This is how I learned about the lymphatic system. And I became obsessed with learning about posture and anatomy and about feeling into my emotions. And what I would do in meditation, because I was somebody who struggled to really sit still in meditation. And so what I would do is that I would go into my body, and all the parts of my body that I felt disgusted with, I would stand naked in the mirror. And every part of my body that I felt disgusted to look at, I would force myself to go within. I would close my eyes, and I would send my awareness into the different parts of my body that I felt loathing or disgust for. And I would just allow myself to feel my body. And as I would feel those different parts of my body, emotions would come to the surface. Thoughts would come to the surface. Memories would come to the surface. All the trauma of things that I had tried to repress in my life, they were all sitting in my body. And it was like my body was ready to start healing, because up until that moment, I hadn't felt strong enough to deal with all the things, all the stuff that I had swept under my proverbial rug, because I didn't feel strong enough to deal with them. Now, it was because I had made the decision, I will not die of cancer. I need to turn my life around. And because by that point now I was an orphan, and I was 26 when this happened. And so when my parents passed away. And so I realized that I no longer had anybody to rely on. And so if I didn't start taking care of my health, there would be absolutely no one there to help me. And so it was time to start taking care of my health. It was time to start dealing with my body. And so I feel like this is a good place to stop the story. But what I do want is to take you into a practice. I want to share the practice that I do that goes into my body that helps me to release all the emotions that I had suppressed throughout my life. And there will be a part 2 in this video where I will share more about why accidents happen, why I had to go blind in my eye, because everything is divinely guided. There was no mistakes. But why I had to go blind was, this was my soul's choice. This was a soul contract that had been made already. It was because I had experienced so much trauma in those early years of childhood up until around the age of 6 years old. And because it was too traumatizing for me to remember these things, my eye became blind so that I could literally sever those memories so that I would be able to continue moving forward in my life. And so I guess the reason that I'm sharing this video is because what I realized in hindsight in later years, that it was because I was brutally sexually assaulted from a very young age, that my father raped me over and over again from when I was an infant to the age of 6 years old. And it was so horrible for me to experience these things that it was easier to create a situation in which I would be blinded so that I wouldn't have to remember those horrific memories. And so this video is for all the women out there, and even the men who have experienced any kind of sexual trauma, because there are so many of us, so many of us out there who have experienced this trauma, and we are stuck with all this shame sitting within our body. And it is not our shame, it is the shame of the people who violated us, that we absorbed their shame. They pushed their shame into us when they were doing these vile, disgusting acts. And so this process is for all the women out there and the men who have experienced any kind of trauma around sex. I'm going to guide you through a process that is going to help you to release some of the shame sitting within your body. So I invite you to close your eyes now. Sorry, I just need a moment to process. So I invite you to close your eyes, and we're going to go through 3 rounds of breath. Just get comfortable. Sit in a way that makes you feel comfortable. I want you to totally relax. So deep inhale through your nose, and deep exhale, pushing from your belly, making a HA sound. Deep inhale through your nose. Pull it up, 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 up into your throat. And exhale, HA sound. Let it all go. Let it all go. Deep inhale through your nose. And deep exhale, HA sound. Making any sound you need. We are about releasing shame, releasing sadness. And I want you to tune into your pubic bone area. In fact, come and place 2 hands on your lower belly, just above your pubic bone. And I want you to repeat to yourself, you have done nothing wrong. Nothing that happened to you was your fault. You did not deserve any of the pain that you experienced. Nothing that happened to you was your fault. Now I want you to surround yourself in a bubble of pink light, a soft pink light, creating a cocoon around your body, creating a cocoon around you, a gentle pink color. I like to envelope myself in a fluffy pink bubble where it's super soft and super gentle. And now, whatever feels right for you here, whatever color, whatever texture, whatever it is that you need to feel safe in this moment, Whether it is imagining the warm embrace of somebody who loved you, nestled in the bosom of somebody who cared for you deeply, surrounded by nothing but love, feeling yourself held, feeling yourself loved, knowing that in this moment here, there is nothing but compassion. Now I want you to send awareness gently into your rectum. This is where a lot of shame is held. I want you to visualize your rectum. And don't think about this too hard. What you're doing here is you're really speaking to your body. And as long as you just think rectum, your subconscious will connect with that part of your body. Gently connecting with your rectum. And as you connect with your rectum, I want you to also focus on that space just underneath your nose, the space between your two nostrils at the base. Gently sending your awareness there. This is the energetic point for your rectum. And as you focus on both that spot at the base of your two nostrils and your rectum as well, I want you to just breathe in and out of these spaces, thinking it is safe for me to relax. It is safe for me to let go of whatever I am holding in these spaces. I release the shame from my body, for it is not mine to carry. It was never mine. I let it go. And with each inhale, breathe in love and compassion into your rectum. And with each exhale, release the shame, release it to the earth, letting it go. And just imagine that you had opened a tap where your rectum sits. And as you open that tap, you just allow all the energy of shame to be released from your rectum, to be released from your life. Inhale in compassion and love. And exhale, let it flow. Release it to the earth beneath you. It is no longer yours to carry. Let it all go. Letting yourself know, repeating to yourself, it is safe for me to release. It is safe for me to release this shame from my body. Just let it all go. Feeling into your buttocks and into the heels of your feet. Allow the soles of your heels to relax into the floor beneath you. Can you feel the soles of your heels? Feel the coolness of the floor beneath them. Now, if your body wants to move, just allow it to. Just allow your body to release whatever it needs in this moment. And as you continue releasing through your rectum, I want you to notice any tension. Are you holding in? Are you squeezing as if you're scared of going to the toilet? I want you to relax all the muscles of your pelvic floor. Wherever you feel that you are holding, just let it go. Noticing any tightness in your lower belly, in your birthing canal, or in your pubic bone area. Just simply state, release, release. It is safe for me to release. Allowing the shame to be released from your body. Just keep tuning into your rectum. I know even when we say the word rectum, we feel shame. We should not be ashamed of any part of our body. Wherever you feel ashamed of your body is because you are holding the emotion of shame. But this is a space for you to gently let it go. Releasing through your lower belly, releasing through your belly button. Just keep thinking, I relax my belly button. I relax my belly. I relax my hips. Now just tune into your body. Feel your body. Feel where you feel stiffness or discomfort or shame. And just feel these parts of your body and feel them with love. Hold love and compassion for yourself in your heart as you feel into these different parts of your body, allowing the shame to be released, for it is no longer yours to carry. Releasing it from your rectum, releasing it from your buttocks, releasing it from your lower back. A lot of sexual energy that has been repressed will sit in the lower back, in that space just above your butt crack. So gently sending awareness, send your focus into that space and send it love, send it compassion, send it pink, soft energy, letting yourself know that it is safe for you to release. It is safe for you to let go of these things because they were never yours to carry. It is time for you to release what doesn't belong to you. It is safe for you to release all of the shame. It is no longer yours to carry. And you can stay here for as long as you need, just feeling into your body, feeling into all the parts of you that were never allowed to feel, the parts of you that were shamed into making yourself small, into making you believe that the shame was yours and that you had done something wrong. But you did nothing wrong, my beautiful friend. You are perfect as you are. I love you so much, and I'm sending you compassion. I'm sending you healing, and I'm placing you in a cocoon of love. I'm placing you in a cocoon of light, knowing that for all of you here that have listened to this transmission and who have gone through this frequency of healing with me, I have put you, I have shared healing energy with you so that this will continue to unfold. This will continue to heal. And especially as I record this video, tomorrow is a full moon, and the full moon has a tendency to bring up a lot of stuck emotions. It sheds light on a lot of the things that we have suppressed. So hold this in your heart and know that this full moon is bringing you healing, is bringing you love, so that once again, you too may return to wholeness. I love you so much. Be blessed.